So Mikey McCoy, TPUSA's chief of staff, finally came forward to speak for himself about his behavior the moment Charlie Kirk was shot. You could remember, if you have been following me here in the Body Language Guy channel, you remember that I did a 3-part analysis about, the strange behavior of TPUSA's chief of staff, part 1, 2, and 3. This was part 1. And in that part 1, you remember that we analyzed that clip in which he just basically walked away from Charlie the instant that he was shot. I made a complete frame-by-frame analysis of his behavior as in what happened. It's like, how could he just not react the way that he did? So I invite you, I'm going to leave you with the link in the description to that analysis just in case. But right now, you have the breaking TPUSA just dropped a brutal, receipt-loaded response demolishing every single lie that has been pushed. They brought facts. While Charlie and his friends are grieving their murdered brother, right? They're complaining about the people asking questions. TPUSA is refuting all these accusations, and this is Mikey McCoy here to, talk about this. So let's see what he's going to say and his words. This is Andrew Colbert, by the way.
A question from Rain, and it's kind of largely about the conspiracy theories, and and I think, Blake, you said it well. It's like we have to give space for people to grieve. There is a trial coming up. We understand that sometimes when we don't speak on every topic, it creates a bit of a vacuum. And there is, just so you know, there's a reason for some of the silence on certain things and the choosing not to engage in certain things.
But you remember that Charlie Kirk's head of security made a 3-hour interview with Sean Ryan, and he said a lot of things. I thought that was part of, of the gag order. So it's like you get to pick, you get to choose when to engage and when not to engage. I don't know how that works. I don't know if that guy was, I guess not, right? He was not part of the gag order thing. That is baffling because he gave a lot of details of what happened that day that I guess that are important for the prosecution of Tyler Robinson. So color me shocked. But let's see what else they have to say.
But I loved Rain's heart, and you could tell that she is grieved just by Charlie not being with us and the anchor that Charlie was in her life, but also the fact that she wants to carry his mission forward, and she wants everybody to be unified and on the same page. So, Mikey, I don't know if you want to add anything to that.
Yeah, I mean, Andrew, you said it. If there's silence on something, oftentimes people say that it's silent because it's true. No, that's not why. Like, there's so many accusations out there against so many people. Even one of them are like a sermon that my dad gave where he said that I had blood on me.
Okay, that's one of the things that I spoke about on that analysis, in which his dad said on a sermon that Mikey, this guy, Mikey McCoy, had blood on him. Charlie's blood on him. That was impossible because the instant, and literally the instant, not even half a second later after Charlie Kirk received that bullet, this guy just turned away and began walking away from the scene. Again, you don't have to trust my word. I'm not gonna play that video again. That's why I made that analysis. But we know that would have been impossible because the moment that Charlie Kirk was being carried to the SUV to be taken urgently to the hospital, this guy was just walking away from it all, like it was some kind of automation or something, which unexplainable.
And for the record, like, he gave that sermon. I called my dad moments after everything happened, and I was screaming. I was
screaming. Okay, let's see. Let me try to fix this frame here, but sometimes he's off frame. I want to make sure to get his actual words.
Blood on me. And for the record, like, he gave that sermon. I called my dad moments after everything happened. And
The moments after, we don't know what moments after are these. I can understand that, well, you can have, a distorted perception of time because of the shock. That is a thing, but it's very easy because there's a very precise timeline of the moment Charlie was shot, and you could have, you had to have a kind of a analysis, a forensic analysis of your own phone. At what time did you call your dad? Maybe 1 minute after the fact, 2 minutes after the fact. That's another thing. People want to know those phone logs. I'm pretty sure that we're not going to get in. But he wants to talk. He wants to come forward and clear the air himself. I think that I said back when I made that analysis, this should be done. But then he says moments later.
Blood on me. And for the record, like, he gave that sermon. I called my dad moments after everything happened. And
moments after everything happened, very vague.
And I was screaming. I was listening to that call. And Blake was next to me. I was screaming on the phone. I said, Charlie was.
Who was next to him?
I was listening to that call. And Blake was next to me.
Blake was next to me. Oh, that is interesting, because I remember when we made that analysis not long ago, and there was this issue in which I think that one of them was running and the other one had a bit of trouble catching up. You remember that? It was Blake the one was running. It was certainly not a Mike McCoy, because Mike McCoy was walking. And Blake said that he was running. There's a bit of again, I feel a bit of an issue. So at this point, he says that Blake was by his side, was listening to him when he called his dad. So again, Blake is the bald guy that is on the other side. Is this guy? This Blake is this one that you can see here. But let's continue.
I was screaming on the phone. I said Charlie was shot in the neck and he had blood all over him.
How can you know that Charlie was shot in the neck and he had blood all over him? Precisely, I'm going to say that again. It is so difficult for me. I'm gonna talk about my own opinion, because I took a good look at the video and the timing, again, frame by frame. And I remember the shot, and I remember when the blood began pouring out. I would say that between the shot and the blood pouring out, Mike McCoy was already walking away from where he was. That was bizarre. That is, nobody can explain that. He cannot explain that. And so he said that he was telling his dad that Charlie was shot in the neck and he had blood all over him. How could you possibly know if half a second after Charlie received the bullet, he was already turning around, and 1 second later, he was already walking away? So I find it really hard to believe that he actually saw the details of Charlie being shot. He could have seen, when Charlie's shirt just did the thing that it did, but he couldn't have seen Charlie with blood all over him. That is simply not possible. So again, this is something that they have this description of what happened. They have this description of recollections, and this doesn't help. And the thing that he wants to clarify, quote unquote, is what his dad said in that sermon, which is the least thing, because his dad was not there. He was the one there. He wants kind of explain his behavior, but focusing on what his dad said in a sermon. And his dad was never in the crime scene.
And I think he said there was a lot of blood.
And I said, you need to call every pastor and pray for a miracle. And he thought for some reason that I said I had blood on me. So he gives a sermon 72 hours later where he addresses that conspiracy.
Yeah, and he says that
That is possible. That's something I'm going to give a pass to McCoy's dad, in the sense that, yeah, you could be worried, of course, about your son. You say that about there's blood all over or whatever, or somebody mentions blood, and then or maybe there was a shooting. Obviously, there was blood. Somebody said that there's a lot of blood. Maybe Mikey McCoy did not see the blood, obviously, because how could he? But he could have heard somebody yell that there was blood everywhere, and he could have just repeated that, and his dad believed that there was blood on him. That is the kind of confusion that can happen, but I'm just giving a pass to the dad giving us the sermon, not to this guy. This guy has no way of explaining how he reacted the way he did. I certainly, in all my career, measuring and analyzing reactions, I have no way of understanding what happened in
that I had blood on me. Okay. I didn't see that sermon, and then about a month later, that was like trending all over social media, and
it couldn't have been a month later. It couldn't have been a month later. It must have been 2 weeks later tops.
I called my dad and I was like, "Did you actually say this?" And he was like, "Yeah, I just found out it's not true." So like behind every single one of these are a human being. For an entire month, my dad had to live with nightmares every night that his son actually did have blood all over him.
Did you not speak with your dad after that call? And if your dad feared that you were covered in blood, he must have asked you, "But son, are you okay? Are you really covered in blood?" Because that is the image that he would have in his head. And he's saying, my dad had to live with nightmares.
My dad had to live with nightmares every night that his son actually did have blood all over him.
Even after, we guess, finding out that was not true. I mean, do you really speak to your dad on a regular basis? Or maybe this would have been a stretch. That his dad was so impressed and so distressed by that first call, or that by the mention of blood, that was ingrained in his head. But again, when he finds out that his son was okay, that he was not even near Charlie when Charlie was brought into the SUV, then okay, the nightmares with his nightmares of his son covered in blood. How many passes have I given today? I only give 2 passes per video per person.
Did you say he got emotional when he found out?
He got emotional when I was on the phone with him, being like, "That's not true. Why did you say that?"
No, he was so glad to hear it wasn't true.
Of course, he gets emotional if he thinks his son is covered in blood. And the first thing that you would do, if you think you heard that, if you think you heard something, is to actually ask your son. But son, are you, Mikey, are you covered in blood? Is that your blood? Are you okay? No, Dad, I'm okay. I'm not covered in blood. It's Charlie, the one who is covered in blood. But again, how could he know? How could he know the extent of the shot if he turned his back half a second after Charlie was shot?
Yeah, like not everything is some grand scheme, and just because someone's not answering all of your questions when you want them to answer your questions does not mean it's
I want to close.
Well, this is actually not answering the question. Why did you react like that? Who did you call first? What is the timeline of events? Because, yeah, the problem is, I can understand. Yeah, I can understand that people want, we still want space to grieve. I respect that 100%. But the problem is that there is the court of public opinion. That is actually a thing. That is not me. That is something that exists, and you will not be able to just make it go away. You simply can't. So precisely because the court of public opinion is asking questions about your strange behavior, the best thing that you can do for TPUSA's, for Charlie's memory, for everybody to be a bit, to lower the temperature, to lower the heat of everything what is going on, and to really take down at least some of the conspiracies is to, well, explain a play-by-play, of what happened. Because Andrew Colvett and Blake tried to explain Mikey McCoy's behavior. Now you have Mikey McCoy here in the flesh. He has the opportunity to set the record straight about everything, and he doesn't. So what do you want us to believe? How do you want us to react about this? That is the issue.
Here's the loop on this.
Fine. I have one more thing.
I think, but there's a lot of people are deeply affected by this.
Yeah.
And for some people, the temptation of something very emotionally upsetting is they want to, frankly, sometimes there's a temptation to lash out. And I would remember that, I would encourage you to remember, all of us love Charlie. All of us care deeply about Charlie.
Nobody is doubting that. Nobody is saying, I am not discussing that.
It is fundamentally, I'll just say it, it is fundamentally outrageous and insane to say that any of us would have wanted Charlie dead or wanted anything bad to happen to him. And when we get emails where people just say, you killed Charlie, or you're lying about everything, I would strongly encourage those people to reflect on what is motivating them to do these things.
Yeah.
Well, there are crazy people out there. That is also true. That is also undeniable. So
I want to also say there is a point where it's deeply frustrating that somebody like Mikey would have to even dignify some of this story that you'd have to even dignify that with a response. I mean, it's so insane. But by the way, I love that Rain is wearing she was talking about her bracelet from the memorial, and it was funny because just this morning I saw a bunch of "We Are Charlie Kirk" bracelets on Mikey's desk. I was like, I want one of these. I never wear these kind of bracelets. Not really my thing, but I'll wear it for Charlie. So I thought that was.
So yeah, let's talk about something. Let's talk about bracelets. So, again, if I'm gonna leave you with a link to my 3-part analysis in the description of this video so you can judge for yourself. But most important, I want to know what do you think about this in the comments. My name is Jesus Enrique Rosas. I'm the Body Language Guy. Much love and bliss.